a special edition. I was like, where'd you go? Um, Welcome to a special edition of my weekly coaching sessions or trainings. I go live every single week inside of my Facebook group. If you're new to me, my name is Coach Steph. I am a registered dietitian, personal trainer, and mindset transformation coach. I have a program called the Fit Figure Formula where I help you work through your macros and mindset. I coach female perfectionists to help them beat self sabotage and lose the weight for good. So today we're actually interviewing Coach Kiani, who is a physical therapist, and I'm going to let you tell the audience who you serve and a little bit more about you. And welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So, hi everyone. My name is Kiani Adams. I'm a physical therapist and a strength and conditioning coach. I'm based out of Connecticut. The people I serve are two somewhat different. For rehab, I work with men and women getting back from orthopedic injuries and wanting to get back to high levels of performance, whether that's just lifting weights or playing a sport. And then for women, I help women step into the gym with confidence and tone up and get strong and define bodies without doing a ton of cardio.
Awesome. Okay. We're going to talk about today is strength training for beginners. And I forget how we came to this topic, but I know that a lot of people who follow my page hear me say that weightlifting is important. And I kind of wanted to get an expert in to help them to learn how to get started if they're just getting started, or even if you've been lifting weights for a while, but you have questions about whether or not your program is effective or whether or not you're doing something right, or if you have knee pain, back pain. I definitely want to talk about that today, so don't let me forget about that. But I have a few questions. You guys can let me know if you can hear me.
Your audio went out. I can hear you now. Can you talk? I don't hear you.
What happened?
There we go.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
For
I didn't
some,
hear what you said.
that's okay. I don't know why it's not coming through my thing. It's okay. So as long as you can hear me, we're good. So I want to just kind of go through a few questions, and if you guys have questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat. Now, I do not know if I'll be able to see them. Oh, I see some comments. Hey, Stacy, yay! Hi, Kathy. Stacy and Kathy and the other 6 viewers, y'all let me know if you can hear me now because I want to make sure that y'all are able to hear me. I think this is running through my weight loss for perfectionists group. So if you're watching this on my profile, I have a Facebook group that is completely free, and you can join us inside of that group. I will be doing workshops talking about nutrition, mindset, all or nothing thinking, negative self talk, all of that. Everything that you will need to know in order to have a successful lifestyle change. So, okay, Stacy said yes, you can hear me. Awesome. I can hear you. Yes. Okay, we got it. We got it back on track. Okay. Cool. So if you have questions, drop them in the chat. If for some reason I don't see them, we will circle back in the comments. But where do you start if you're brand new to weightlifting? Where would you say to start?
So, I think it's a common misconception that people have that there's beginner exercises and then there's more advanced exercises. Yes, you can always take one exercise and make it harder, right? But it always comes back down to the movements we do on a day-to-day basis. So, squatting, lunging, doing some sort of single leg activity, and then hinging, which is basically bending at your hips, and core work, and pushing things away from your body and pulling things away from your body, right? Because we do those on a day to day without even thinking about it. So your program should always start with those things. So if you're a beginner, instead of loading up with a barbell on your back, you simply can squat to a chair or do air squats, right? And then you take the most regressed exercise and you just put that into a routine that works for you. So whether you're a beginner or whether you're an advanced person, you're always going to be doing those variations of those movements. So I don't think that I would say that you have to start a certain way. It's more so finding your entry point. So there's some people who've never lifted weights before, did any form of strength training, and they're able to do on day one. They're able to do exercises with weights. So this is why I always think it's important to have somebody who understands movement to observe you and then let you know what exercises is appropriate for you to do. Because then you'll run into one of two issues. If you're doing something that's not challenging for you, you'll end up wasting some time. Yes, all movement is good movement, but it's not going to get you to where you need to be. But if you're doing something that's too advanced, then you run the risk of hurting yourself. So I think it's really important to find the movement or the exercise that falls into those categories and then create a program based on that, if that makes sense. So there's not a specific way for everybody to start. They just have to hit those 6 movement patterns.
Okay, so would you say that the best way or the better way to start is with an assessment from someone who knows like movement patterns, and then they will begin you wherever you need to start?
Yes. Or there's always YouTube University. So I would type in all of those exercises now, and I have a workout creator guide that I'm going to give to your audience that walks you through these. But you can literally just type that in into YouTube, and then they'll walk you through how to perform it, right? So as long as you're comfortable doing that, you can get started there. But I think the safest way is to go to your local gym, and they'll walk you through an assessment and tell you, like, here's where you should start. Then the next step is putting together a routine that actually aligns with your goals. Because you can do all of those movements, but if you're not doing them at a certain frequency per week or with a certain intensity, then that's when your results are going to stall.
Yeah, and so talk about how do you know what weights to begin with? So I think that's always a question that a lot of my ladies have.
Right. So choosing a weight is tricky because there's no objective formula. It's not like, oh, you weigh 150 pounds and you're 5'5", you should be using this weight, right? So the way you find a weight that's good for you is you pick a rep range. Usually for beginners, I like to give anywhere from 8 to 15 reps. And I would just let people self-select their weight and say if you're doing a squat and you use 5 pound dumbbells, right? And then if you get to your 10th rep and you feel like you can do another 15 more, then it's too light. So I always like to tell my clients to make sure that when you get to that final rep, you feel like you can only do, like if you had to continue, you can only do 2 or 3 more. That's how you know you're in the right rep range. If you feel like you can do a ton of more reps, then it's too light for you and then you need to increase it. So basically, you always want those last 3 reps to be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And your weights are always going to change from exercise to exercise. Sometimes people will use the same exact weight for everything, but I think as women, we underestimate how strong we are. So our legs, we have stronger legs than men on average. So the weight that you're going to use to do lower body exercises is going to be significantly higher than what you do for upper body. So you have to really take it exercise at a time and choose the weight that's challenging for that exercise.
Right. So that means, ladies, if you are lifting weights, you're not just keeping that same weight for every single exercise. You're listening to your body to see, oh, am I close to failure here? Versus just burning. Because a lot of people will stop when it burns. And I'm like, no, we're not stopping when it burns. That's not the measurement. Um, Talk a little bit about at home workouts if you don't have heavy enough weights. Like, I did this experiment with one of my clients because she had a lot of resistance to increasing her weights. And I think she had like 8-pound weights. And I was like, I told her, go get your weights on a call. I'm like, go get your weights. And then I was like, just do as many bicep curls as you can. Like, just don't stop, keep going. She did 48. And I'm like, if you can do 48 bicep curls, that's too light. And it was just like a really good way to physically, so she can tell in her body, oh, I can do way more than that, even though it burns. It burns at 10 or 12, but I can do 48, which means I'm stronger than that. So I really, really liked that. I'm going to start doing that with more of my clients who think that I can only do 10 pounds is just like a lot. Um, but if you're at home working out and you don't have like a lot of different weights, like what is your recommendation for progressively overloading in that situation?
Oh, I love when clients like to work out at home because you can get really creative. So, say if you only have an 8 pound dumbbell, progressive overload is not only adding more weight. So, you can obviously do more reps, you can do more sets, but also if you slow down your movements, it's going to feel harder. So, a lot of tempo work is good. So, for example, I give squats as an example for everything, but say if you're doing squats, you take 3 to 5 seconds to lower down, pause at the bottom for 3 seconds, and then 3 to 5 seconds to go back to the top. And what that's doing is making your muscle work for a longer duration. So you have more like time under tension, and that's gonna help you build muscle with the same amount of weight. Because you can use a heavy weight, but if you're going really fast, you're not getting the same like muscle output. So that's one way. Another way I like to do that is, another way I like to progress things at home is to use a lot of supersets. So if you have a leg day, you can combine like 2 or 3 exercises and run through them sort of like a circuit, but you're still really focusing on good form, not going so fast. You want to use a certain tempo. Run through all 3 of those exercises and then take a break. That's gonna allow you to be able to use your muscle for a long period of time without the typical breaks that we typically have if we're going really heavy. So it's just a different way to manipulate different variables in order to get the result you want. So you don't always need to lift more weight.
So can you give us an example of like what that would look like if you're doing either, you can do upper body or lower body, but like what would that look like for a superset?
Okay, so upper body superset that I like to do is I like to do push-ups. And on the push-ups, you're doing a tempo, so you're lowering down slowly. And this does not have to be full push-ups. Like you can do this on your knees, you can do this at a wall, you can do it at a bench. So lower down for 3 seconds, pause, raise back up into the starting position for a certain number of reps. And then you can also, if you have light dumbbells, you can do a bench press right after, a dumbbell bench press right after your push-ups. And instead of pushing up with both hands like this, I like to hold at the top with one hand and then be doing this one. And then you can hold at the top and do the other one. And then that's one set, and you can run through that. So that's one way that I play around with upper body exercises. Another one would be if you are doing like pushing and pulling exercises. So if you're doing like a full upper body workout, you can always target your pushing muscles with your pulling muscles. So doing a push-up or a bench press and then straight into a row and then add in a core exercise. That's one superset, and you can make up 2 or 3 of those and that'll be your workout.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I like to play around with different movement patterns. So instead of thinking of what exercise is going to target a specific muscle group, I break it up in terms of what movement are you doing. Because if you're doing a pushing movement, you're going to get your chest, your triceps, and your shoulders. And then if you're doing a pulling movement, you're going to get your biceps and your back muscles. So if you target based on the exercise, the exercise movement pattern, then you will be sure to hit all of your muscle groups, which I think is also where women go wrong, is because they focus on just one movement and it's not well-rounded.
Talk a little bit about like concentric and eccentric contraction in terms of tempo, because I have to just close my eyes sometimes when I go to the gym and people are just like swinging the weight and I'm like, I feel like people think that you're building the muscle when you contract, like if you're doing a bicep curl, like it's here. But I'm like, no, when you're breaking the muscle down is when the muscle is lengthened. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So To break it down in simple terms, a concentric muscle contraction is when the muscle is shortening. So if I do a bicep curl, like right here, my bicep is stretched, right? And then when you flex, that's when your muscle is shortening. That's a concentric contraction. But then when you are doing a curl and you're slowly lowering it, as you're lowering it, your bicep muscle is getting longer. And that's when you get most of the muscle damage. So both are extremely important, but eccentric contractions are gonna typically elicit more muscle growth. But with that being said, it's also gonna give you more of that like DOMS and soreness at the end. So you have to be careful with how many eccentric exercises you do in your workout plan. But it's important to control both. And somebody, I don't know if you saw this, Stephanie, but somebody in the comments put workouts for runners. So when you're looking to do any sort of impact activity, eccentric strength is really important because that's when you're really absorbing your body's weight. So every time you run, you're going to be hitting the ground and absorbing like 100 to 200 times your body weight. And if you don't have eccentric strength, that's when people run into like jumper's knee or tendonitis or things like that because they don't have the strength for their desired activity. So when you see people in the gym doing a whole bunch of exercises where they're not controlling things, yes, it's good for concentric strength, but it's not good for everyday activities like walking downhill, being active, running. So you want to make sure you focus on the up and the down, or like the fast upward movement and then the slow and controlled movement.
Mm-hmm.
They're both extremely important, and I think that's when it's really important to have a well-rounded training program. So don't be in the gym just swinging stuff around.
Yeah, and I think too, this is just what I heard. I don't know if this is true, but like we work what we can see in the mirror besides squats, because I feel like women are not going to forget squats. Like I don't think we're
I
going to
hate squats, but yeah.
forget. See, and I'm the weird one. Like I love a burpee. I like doing like I don't know. I don't mind them. Bulgarian split squats, love them. If I hear, like, I used to do Camp Gladiator, and if someone was like, "Oh, it was so hard," I'm like, "Oh, I missed it." Like, I am that person that like likes all of the stuff that other people don't like, but that's neither here nor there.
Good though. That's really good. I hate burpees.
I
Yeah,
know. I've seen you post about them before.
yeah, I hate burpees. Like I'll do them, but I'm not I'm not like volunteering myself to do them.
Yeah.
Like if my coach puts them in my program, I'll do them. But
Yeah.
I don't really like them.
I like. I mean, I don't mind
They're
them.
hard. That's why I don't like them. They're hard.
Where are you seeing comments? Because that comment that you just mentioned, I don't see that.
Oh, I have the live open
Oh, okay, cool.
on
I
mute.
guess I should pull that up in a second. Okay. So should you do cardio and weights, and which one should you do first?
So there's a difference between what you would do in a perfect world and what's optimal versus what somebody what's going to keep somebody consistent. So number one, you aren't if you don't have aspirations to be an extreme strength athlete like a power lifter, then it doesn't really matter when you do your cardio. But it's always best in a perfect world to do your cardio first if your goal is to lose fat. I mean, do your cardio at the end if your goal is to lose fat and if your goal is to build muscle and get stronger. Because when you're doing cardio before your workout, think of the best way to explain it is think of the busiest highway that's by you, and say you're trying to get on the highway and you guys are all at a standstill, and here and there like little cars will get on but you're still waiting. That's what's happening when you're doing cardio. Like the fat cells are getting on, so you're burning the fat cells, but the cars that are going by are the carbs, and those are the ones that are getting used more often. They're using the highway more often. So then when you go to do strength training, you don't have as much of those carbs for energy, so it affects your performance. So you always want to structure your routine in a way that aligns with your goals. But like I said, that's in a perfect world. So I would say whatever is going to keep you consistent. Like if you feel better doing cardio before your lift, do it. Like it's fine. But if you were to be programming for an extreme athlete, things are going to be a little different. But typically, whatever keeps you consistent is totally fine. I personally don't like doing cardio on leg days, so I just don't do it. I'll do it on my upper body days, and I'll even do it before or after because it's not really impacting my performance because I'm not really using my legs. So It just depends on what's going to keep you consistent, I think, for the average person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that especially for my group of perfectionists, that we always think that there's one right way and then everything else is wrong, but that is not true. There is nuance, which is why I understand like y'all can get frustrated when you ask a professional
It
what
depends.
seems to be a very straightforward question. The answer is always it depends, which is why it's really important to get guidance. It's really important to get an assessment. It's really important to get somebody who can help you throughout the process and who is trained in this so that you don't have to like figure everything out because there's not just like one right way to do something. um, is there an app that you can recommend that can help keep track of weightlifting routine, weights, reps?
Do you have one? I have one.
Well, I give my clients workouts inside of my coaching program, but I think she's talking about like just one that's
Yeah.
like you can
So
use. I don't know.
So sometimes what you can do is I use Everfit for my clients, but you can sign up as a coach, and they give you, I think, 3 or 5 free clients, so you can always add yourself on there as if you were coaching somebody, and then you can just use the client version and put your workouts in there, and it tracks over time. So Everfit is a good resource to do that. It's pretty cool. It shows you like the graphs of how your weights are going up over time. It'll tell you when you hit PRs. So you can always do that. Although you're not a coach or a trainer, you can add yourself as a client.
Mm-hmm. Um, I think there's one also called Fitbod or something like that where it will progress for you. Like it'll give you a workout, you put in what weights you do, and then every time you do that, it'll progress it or something like that. I've never used it, but I've heard of it. So that might be something to look into. I'm not sure if that one is free or not. LOL said no burpees. Okay, okay, I get it. Y'all don't like burpees. I get it. Can you overwork a muscle in a session? I'm doing 8 to 10 exercises. Like today is quads, and that's all I'm working. 4 sets per exercise.
I can't think of 10 quad exercises. So I would say yes, you can definitely overwork a muscle, and the only way I can see that being optimal is if you only have one leg day a week, and it will be better for you to split that up across the week because it's going to take you a long time to recover from that. 8 to 10 exercises, 4 sets per exercise. That's about 40 sets. Typically, people aren't doing 40 sets per exercise. I mean, per muscle group a week. So it'll be better result wise, and also your ability to recover if you were to spread that up. So my question to you, Jill, would be how many days a week are you working out? And then based on that, you can split up the quad exercises according to your schedule. Because that's just overkill and you're gonna run into diminishing returns. So once you get to like your third or fourth exercise, you're not gonna need to do the rest of the exercises because you got enough work in. So it's not a good use of your time.
Okay, Jill. Hopefully that made sense. Let us know. How long does it take to build muscle? And are you good on time? I see people. I don't know if they're
I'm looking at the comments.
Okay. Oh
I'm
no,
good.
no, that's okay. How long does it take to build muscle?
So typically it takes, for a beginner, you're gonna put on muscle a little bit quicker just because it's a new stimulus. But say if you've been lifting for a year or so, it's gonna slow down. So initially, like at least 8 weeks it will take to build muscle.
Okay, y'all. Y'all hear that?
So it takes a long time, and then on average, like if your diet is really in line with building muscle, and you're eating quality food, you can see like 1 to 2 pounds of muscle growth a month, but that's in a perfect world, and that's as you become a little bit more advanced with your training. Before that, it's more so like neurological adaptation, like your body is responding to a new stimulus, so you get really good at it, and that's why they call it beginner games.
Yeah, so I want you guys to be thinking about all the ways that you can find a win in terms of like body fat percentage, scale. Are you getting stronger week to week? Like, I need you to count those wins because it's going to take time for you to actually like, see your muscle pop out or, you know, be able to quote unquote look tone. Like, it's going to take a while. So if you are not looking and searching for ways that you are progressing, you might get discouraged by that time. But hopefully, everyone watching here is understands that like this is a lifestyle and this is something that we want to be able to do for a lifetime. So it takes a while. Create and find multiple ways to find a win. What happens if you're scared to get injured? I hear this a lot. Like, I don't know if I want to lift heavy because I'm scared to get injured.
How do you combat that?
Yeah. Like if you're a
So
beginner, but you're scared to lift heavier.
I think a good example, like you provided one with what you do with your clients, like take that exercise that you're scared to lift heavy on and see as many reps as you can do. And if you're doing 20 reps of an exercise, then you can likely increase the weight by 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds. It doesn't have to be anything extreme. I think when people hear lift heavy, they think they have to be the like lifting the heaviest weight in the gym. That's not what it's about. Heavy is relative to you, right? So what's heavy to me might be light to you and vice versa. So you have to always keep that in mind and just aim to have every set you do be challenging. And it's not really about the weight you're using. Your body doesn't know that it's 100 pounds or 200 pounds. It just knows if you're prepared for it or not. And over time, if you have a strength training program where you're progressing week by week, your body is going to get used to that. So what may feel heavy on month one may not, it's not going to feel heavy on month 4. But if you never push yourself, you're technically increasing your likelihood of getting injured because you get injured when your body isn't prepared for something. So if you are scared to lift heavier weight in the gym and then you're in your day to day and you go to lift something heavy out your car, it's the same thing. You have to prepare your body for it. So I would argue that the fear is also a risk factor for injury. So just making sure that you're progressing very, very slowly is important. And I think for beginners, using machines and being able to push yourself in a controlled environment is really good to increase your confidence because it's really hard to mess up your form on a machine, right? And they'll have safeties in place and everything. So I would encourage beginners who are scared to increase their weight to have a mix of free weights and machine exercises and really slowly increase the weight on the machine exercises so that you can gain confidence. And then once you show yourself that you're actually strong, then you will have more confidence to do it with free weights. Just make sure you're not doing it with really big jumps. So I would say if you're increasing weight for an upper body exercise, anywhere from 2.5 to 10 pounds is a good increase. I would start with the 2.5 pounds because typically women have weaker upper body, so you're gonna have to build that up, especially if you're a beginner. And then for lower body, you can always increase from 5 to 15 pounds because your legs are really, really strong. So that's a good rule of thumb I give my clients.
Yeah, so lifting heavier or increasing your weights doesn't have to mean 5, 10, 15 pounds. It'd be 2.5 pounds. That's a little bit more. Um, Ebony says, do you know of a program for middle-aged women who have arthritis issues?
Um, do I know of a program or different suggestions? Because I think people that have arthritis, you don't need to train differently from somebody who doesn't have arthritis. With arthritis, motion is lotion. So if you're referring to osteoarthritis, this is basically how it works. So you essentially lose the natural lubrication that's in between your joints, where like your cartilage breaks down, you don't have that fluid movement anymore, and it's not as lubricated. So that's what causes the pain and the inflammation. But as you move, your body generates some of that natural lubrication that's missing. So what you have to do is find forms of exercises that are tolerable for you. So machine work is great for people who have osteoarthritis because it's lighter on your joints. And then you can also include some supported exercises with free weights. So like squats, with like squats to a bench, lunges with the TRX lunges, hinge exercises are really good. So there's no right or wrong for exercises with arthritis. Is more so finding what's tolerable for you. I've had people who have arthritis and they're squatting 250, and then people that have arthritis and they have pain just going up and down stairs. So it really depends on your certain situation. It's not do this because you have arthritis. Don't put yourself in a box. It's more so going about it the way that any beginner would, which is finding the exercises that are tolerable for you.
So that was going to be my next question about knee and back pain. And if you have knee or back pain, like, and you're a beginner and you're a little bit nervous about lifting weights, how do you go about it? Is it just like, if it hurts, don't do it? Like, what? How do you assess whether or not it's okay for you to continue to do?
Okay, so all knee pain and back pain is going to be different, but I don't want to give the answer like go see a professional because that's not what we're here for. So um, I would say what I do with my clients who have hip pain, knee pain, back pain is first find out when that pain happens because a lot of times people have pain in certain activities and positions. Sometimes people have pain when they get to the bottom of a squat and that's when their knee hurts, right? So really get specific on when you're experiencing your pain. Then, when it comes to that, you want to try three things. You want to try to decrease the weight you're using because it can be load dependent, right? You can take the weight off and you may not have the pain anymore. You want to, if that doesn't work, you want to decrease the range of motion. So, say if you are having knee pain when you're, or back pain when you're squatting and it happens right when you get to parallel, do a squat to a higher platform, right, to take out that painful range of motion. And then if that doesn't work, you want to try a different variation. So if you're doing a goblet squat and it's painful and all of those things, you decrease the range of motion, you took off the weight, you want to try a different variation. So you may not have pain if you squat to a box or if you squat with the wider stance. So you want to try those things. If that doesn't work, I always try the leg press. Leg press is essentially a squat. You're just laying down or on an angle. You're still doing the squatting motion. It's just not against gravity. So try the leg press. And then I would do that with every single exercise. And then by doing that, you'll get more detail on when it's painful. And then you'll also be able to work yourself back up to what was currently bothering you. So I would start with that. That's typically how I start my clients, but then troubleshooting the exercises that you want to get back to may become an issue because you need to have somebody that can actually work through that with you. But I would start there. Like you can get really far just changing range of motion, changing the weight, and picking a different exercise variation that still targets that same muscle. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, this was my last question that I saw, unless you see something else. But someone did on my story said, basically, she was like, "How do I get a bigger booty?" or something like that. Hold on, let me see exactly what she said. Um,
We all want a bigger booty.
oh, okay, never mind. I don't have it. But basically, she said, "How do I get a bigger booty and how do I get like toned legs?" Is what she said.
So all being toned is decreasing your body fat and then having your muscle show. But you have to have muscle to show in order to be toned. So don't forget to do some sort of muscle building activity, which is why we're here. Next question, next thing I would say about the glute question is you really have to target your lower body muscles in a way that is glute biased if you're trying to do glute exercises. Because if you think of all of the lower body exercises that are out there, squats, deadlifts, lunges, hip thrust, and then like the small like isolated movements like the kickbacks and things like that, or RDLs, you can always do them with a certain, like to bias a certain muscle. So for example, squats do build the glutes. It just depends on how you're doing the squat motion. Same thing with lunges. If you're squatting or doing movements with a lot of knee over toe motion, you're gonna feel like your quads are growing, but your glutes aren't. So you wanna really master the hinge movement. So doing a lot of hip thrusts, RDLs, lunges that target your glutes. So having a wider step and having a forward trunk lean when you're doing certain exercises, that's gonna target your glutes. And then you also wanna make sure that you're targeting those muscles from different angles. So that's why in the gym, you'll see an exercise machine that targets the same muscle in different ways. So that's when you have good programming that's like, hey, if you're doing 2 lower body days, you may do a hip thrust on one day and a deadlift on another, although they're targeting similar movement patterns. And you always want to make sure you're getting at least 10 to 20 sets for that muscle group across the week. So that's when, like in the workout creator guide that I'm giving everybody, it'll break down exactly how many days that you're training and how to organize it. Because if you're doing 5 days a week, it's going to be easier for you to hit that 10 to 20 benchmark. But if you're doing 2 days a week or 3 days a week, you have to be a little bit more strategic. So it comes down to having the right exercises, hitting the exercises with the right intensity, and then also hitting them often throughout the week so that you actually stimulate the muscle growth. And then you have to have your nutrition, which is your expertise.
Yes. I was gonna ask you something right after that. Dang it. Um,
Sorry, I talk a lot.
no. It's fine. I normally will write it down because things leave my mind rather quickly. Okay, I don't remember it. That's okay. So you shared a lot of great information. Are there any more? Do you see any more questions that I might have
Somebody
missed?
said, ice baths, are they good for recovery? Yeah,
Okay.
they're good for
Sure.
recovery. Um, but I also think it depends, it's going to depend on the person. Some people hate the cold, so they're not going to do it, you know? So I think what's really good for recovery is making sure you're hitting your nutritional goals because that's going to play into how you recover. I think sleep is more important than the ice baths. And then also making sure that your program is something you can actually recover from. So you don't want to be doing too much all in one session and then you have to wait another 5 or 6 days to work out. So I think sleep, nutrition, and programming are probably the top three things that you can do for recovery. And then ice baths is just another supplemental one. If you do like it, it is good for recovery, but it's not something you absolutely have to do.
Yeah, and just resting, y'all. Like
Yeah.
like actually having a rest day and not trying to lift weights 6 and 7 times a week. Like you need rest. Um, so yeah.
I would also argue if you're lifting 6 or 7 days a week, then you're not training with the right intensity because if you're lifting in a way that's building muscle, you're gonna need a recovery day. Like bodybuilders build a lot of muscle, but they're not lifting every single day. You know, they're not strength training every day. So keep that in mind too. People think more is better, but better is better.
Right. Love that. All right, so you have a freebie. Tell us about that.
So the freebie is a workout creator guide. I don't know if you guys saw the story takeover that I posted on your story.
Go watch my stories. Go watch my
Yep.
stories.
So basically, it breaks down exactly how to build a routine based on your lifestyle. Because online, you will see like 5 day programs or 4 day programs, and there's no point in signing up for a 5 day program if you can only work out 3 days. And a lot of women, like especially as you have kids and you have more responsibilities, you may not be able to work out 5 days a week. So through that guide, I take you through what your goal is, how many days a week you have access to, how many days a week you have available to train, and then what equipment you have access to. And then based on those things, you can self-select what type of workout split you'll do. So if you're doing 2 days a week, a full body will be best. If you're doing 3 days a week, full body workouts, or one upper, one lower, one full body would be best. It walks you through all of that, and then you can just pick your exercises. So it just it just streamlines how you create your routine as opposed to having to guess what to do on each day.
Yeah. And how do they get that?
I'll drop a link.
Okay. We'll put that in the comments. How do they reach you on social media?
So you can follow me here on Facebook, Kiani Adams. You can follow me on Instagram at Lifting for Women. I also have a Facebook community here that's lifting specific. It's called Lifting for Women Made Simple. Those are the places that you can find me.
Okay.
I'll drop them in the comments too.
Okay, great. Awesome. So, y'all, if you have follow up questions, even if you're watching the replay, you can ask follow up questions and we will get back to you. Make sure that you download the freebie, follow Coach Key, and I think that's it. I don't think I have any other announcements except for if you're on my profile page, we're doing a 7 day step challenge. So it's you versus you. There are instructions on my profile page. And if you're not already in my Facebook group, you could join the Facebook group. I go live talking about macros, mindset, nutrition is my expertise, mindset. I love talking about that. And so I'm so glad to have you here to kind of help the ladies to learn more about building muscle and strength as a beginner.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, if you
I'm
guys have
very
any questions, put them in the comments or message me. I'll be looking through your comments for like the next week to see if there's any questions. So
100%.
drop them below.
Thank y'all. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.